Good day and welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been a few days, been a bit since I've been back here on the YouTube, and so the had some challenges, so it's been difficult to get down here in the workshop. But I've been working on the underside of and actually the whole thing. And I'm not to the point where it's time to start weathering. So I've got the transfers on and so forth. So I'm at the next logical step where I'm calling it quits on the building of the thing, and ready to move into the weathering. So a couple things about that. First off, anybody who is an F-14 expert, super detailed on the history and the development pattern and all of the stuff for the F-14, probably going to want to tap out about now. Is the reality is I'm calling it quits to as far as attempting to accurize or make this thing look like a specific type, style, whatever. I'm going now with what looks good to me. Like I said, the image in my head is the Jolly Rogers from the Nimitz from Final Countdown. The overall paint job and the scheme of the F-14. The F-14 itself as a concept looks amazing to me, and that's really the vehicle that I'm adoring. So I'm there to the point where I have the machine looking the way I would like it. There are a billion inaccuracies and a billion things that could be better. And honestly, I am to the point where this particular kit is slightly frustrating enough that I've reached the end of how much effort I'm willing to put into attempt to fix it, because I don't see them enough, right? The things that I see, and I've mentioned this before when I build models, the things that I will see that will annoy me over time, those are things I will fix. If I see something where I know that something is out of sorts to the point where it bothers me, or the point where I'm thinking, later on that's going to bother me, that is something I'm going to put effort on. The things that aren't specific details will not bother me. So I am probably not going to really go out of my way to do anything about. And that's kind of where I'm going, right? That's kind of where I am. So I just want to say that flat out. I understand. I'm saying this going in. I understand that there are things that are inaccurate, not right, things that are going to be incorrect. And I'm accepting of that because of what I'm going after. There, with that said, I finished the underside, and again, I'm working bottom top, and I've done what I wanted to do, right? So I did a little bit more detailing down into the wheel wells there, and let me bring out light to where we can actually get a little bit more look-see there, right? So we've got a little more work in the wheel wells there where they can be seen, but for the most part they're not going to be, so I'm done. I'm tapping out on those. It was nice to kind of fiddle with and play with, just because it's every model is a practice canvas, so that was nice to work on. And in the future I will more kits. I believe when I do my Harrier, the A8, that will have the experience of having done this to work on that. The ordnance. So the ordnance is a thing, right? Again, those who are familiar with the F-14 and her versions, I'm sorry, this moves. Familiar with the F-14, the versions are going to squick. So just a heads up. I'm going with, or I was attempting to go with something similar to what I see in the Final Countdown. So here's a picture of what I see from when the one plane arcs off. Right, so that's the ordnance package that I'm sort of looking at. Now, I already know that the lantern pod is not on there, etc. But honestly, what happened was and this is something to think about with this kit, is I didn't realize how much, or I didn't anticipate, and I didn't give enough credence to the need to plan ahead, and that was my mistake. When you build the pods and the pylons, you have to pay attention to what ordnance you're putting on, and I mean that's something you got to know from step like 3, because that's when these start coming on. Step like 3, 5, whatever. When the underside starts going and these pods start getting put on, you have to be aware of what ordnance you're going to put on it, because these mount points are different. I mean, I'm actually putting Phoenix missiles on those things, and I know they're wrong, right? Those are for the AG-54, I think, bombs or whatever. And there's absolutely zero reason for any of the ordnance that's going to be on this to have a lantern pod, right? Because that's for the bombs. So I'm putting on the Phoenix missiles, I'm putting on the Sidewinders and Sparrows, and that's it. And they don't need that. But with that said, that's on there because it's on there. And I went through the effort of building it, so it is. Speaking of ordnance, this is the first time that I've actually done up missiles and attempted to make them look decent. The decals do make it, right? So the decals are what make the ordnance look good, believable, whatever, right? So getting those things put on, getting them made up to where they have the right look. Now, remember, ordnance looks fresh, clean, because they're used once and cleaned up and put away, or used and they're gone. So it won't be weathering them much, because I don't see a whole lot of weathering on them. Like external fuel pods and stuff, those would, but which sort of transitions me into the transfers. So the Tamiya transfers, like the ones we use on the ordnance, for instance, are terrible. I'm sorry, did I say it out loud? They're not terrible. They're crappy. They're okay. They do the job, but at least in my kit, at least in this kit, the decals were thick and they did not want to come off. And then once they came off, they were off. They're thick. They're difficult to get set in. I did use the heck out of microset and microsol. That helped. But helped is it, right? It didn't make them great. It just helped. So, again, it's Tamiya. They're not Cartograph, and it shows. So they are what they are, but they work, right? They work. You just have to be patient. So be patient. I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't want to whine. Be patient. The cam decals for the Nimitz. Now, just about all of these are the cam decals, and those are great. The thing is, they are very, very flimsy. They're good. They're very good, but they're very weak. They're very flimsy, so they will break off. The other thing I'm going to point out is the transfer instructions. You get stencil decals. You get no steps. You get all kinds of stencil decal stuff, right? However, your instructions give you very little, or actually they give you no instructions on where they go. And they give you this little bit. It's like, the F-14 had stencils on fuselage and wings when dispatched from the factory. Many of the subtle stencils disappeared during maintenance or overhaul, right? So that is a disclaimer that, hey, they had stencils, but, the heck with you. You figure out where they're going to go. That's really what that says. The details here show you the markings for the different squadrons, and that's what all these are. So like all these here are the ones that came with the cam decals, right? So all of the markings that cam decals give you, right? They're all there, and those are what's on here. The other ones All of the stencils, they don't tell you where they go at all. None. So you want to use them, you do some research, which annoyed me. That really annoyed me. It's like, hey, here's some decals, but you figure out where the hell they go. I mean, it's almost like this kit was one of those, you know what, we're Cammy, you're going to spend, 15 shekels and to you. So, yeah, this one really soured me on me. The cam decals, though, the cam decals look great, and I really like the way they look. So I'm now at the weathering stage. So I've gotten it done, right? We're looking at the bottom. Let's take a look at the top. I have this now to the point where it's time to start working on the weathering and finishing that piece up, which I will do now. And yes, I have these are still off, and I have a few, like the pitot tubes and things that are off here, because I will break those, and those can go on at the end and look just fine. So I'm going to do those as the last step. Once those go on, is going into the shelf and we're done. So the next up is weathering. I am going to display this wings closed. I did leave it so that I could open them up. I'm probably going to try to do the markings that show, that show on there when the wings are opened up, and the little scraping marks and so forth. I'll probably try to do that. I haven't figured out how, but that's tomorrow me's problem. But I'm liking how this looks. I'll be honest, the transfers for the instrument panels, if I can get any kind of lighting in there, yeah. So the transfers for the instrument panels kind of worked, right? So adding let's see if I can get some light back here. Maybe this helps. Yeah, there we go. So doing the transfers for those worked. So the cockpit actually doesn't look bad. Doesn't look terrible. Looks okay. I do need to do the little antenna strips up here, or the lightning strips there, but then that's again not much of anything. That's just a quick little bit of hairy brush and I'm good. Yeah, that's where we are. I'm gonna kind of wind down the wine here. But I'm content. Oh yeah, here you can see where the cam decals kind of broke up. And it just is what it is. So I will go back and between the weathering, the dirtying and so forth, that'll get covered up. So I'm not too worried about it. If I have to touch it up with hairy brush, I can. I have gone through and hit this thing with Future. And like I said, everywhere I have painting oopses and oversteps, I will touch up with hairy brush and weathering. So the little spots like here, the weathering is going to cover that up, and I will just make sure the weathering does. So the next step here is is move on to doing the weathering, get the ordnance put on. I'll probably come back as I do the weathering, but I'm going to do the weathering bottom first, then top, because I'm out of practice and I want to go ahead now. Like I said, I'd shown a picture of where I want to go with it, so I will. And then if I haven't, I thought I did. It's going to be dirty, and that's kind of the direction I'm going to go. And we'll see where we end up with. Anyway, yeah, I like the look this, right? And again, this is kind of where I said, the reason I sort of slowed down on the hyper detailing, or the going into super detail on the bottom is, or in the wheel wells is, this is the angle I'm going to see this thing, right? I'm going to see this, and I don't have a mirror underneath. I'm not going to put a mirror underneath, and this is the look I'm going to have. So this is what I'll see, and that's what's going to make me happy. So I'm remembering that as I put this together. So here we go. Yeah. Called out a couple of gotchas, and now we will move on to the weathering phase, and then hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll have wound that down and we'll come back. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Again, I apologize for the wine, but it was really frustrating. I still like it though, right? I still like the size, and again, I'm a 132 scale kind of guy. I like the big models. I like the big look, and this will look nice in my shelf for sitting next to the F4. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. Hope this was helpful, and gives you guys some heads up for those who want to work on this one. And until next time, happy modeling.